La la la
Oh,
la 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 la. I'm so excited.
oh my God. I think we just finished 2 first seasons of shows.
We did.
Uh,
I was trying to do the math and I was like, are we going to finish season 2 by the end of 2021? And I think we'll be right around the time of ending of the second season. It's about that time.
Ooh,
I think that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. Oh my gosh.
Because we
That's
started this in what,
quarter.
beginning or mid-April?
I want to say it was mid-April that we had we were aiming to start at beginning of April and then we ended up not hitting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we started mid-April. But that's perfect because we're about to start season 2 in September. I think we're literally going to finish season 2 in the first couple weeks of 2022, which is kind of cool.
That's insane. I will state we may or may not have an episode next week because I have some community stuff that I have to do.
Okay.
So we will try. We'll try our damnedest to start season 2 next week. Mm-hmm. If not, just consider it a break between seasons.
A little hiatus.
Yeah, a little hiatus. A little intermission.
A little hiatus. Do you hate us?
At some point when we have a break, we do have a special secret episode that we could release at any point. It doesn't have to be this week, but we have an episode on the back burner that y'all aren't ready for.
Y'all aren't ready for it. Actually, I feel like you're over prepared for it the amount of times that we talk about.
It's true. We talked about it far too much. It's not that great. And
everybody already knows. We already told them, we're like, maybe we'll tell you about our super secret episode, even though it's not even a super secret. We've mentioned it 5 times.
It's true. We're hot messes. We don't keep secrets.
It's true. But anybody, welcome to the show. Yeah. My name is Beth Dixon, also known as Augusta Wind 11. And as Dylan said, we finished season 1 of both Lost and The Nanny. The Nanny is my favorite show, which Dylan hasn't seen. And Lost is his favorite show, which I hadn't seen. Dylan, who are you?
I'm me. That's all you're going to get. And that's it. Now, my name is Dylan Zahner, also known as 8-Bit Dylan Online. As Beth said, Lost is my favorite show of all time. And I'm so excited to talk about the season 1 recap of both these shows, give our thoughts, our feelings, our theories. And then we're going to dig into the stats across all of season 1 of Hot Mess Moments for our MVPs, our LVPs, and we can figure out who is our least favorite character out of all of season 1, who is our most favorite character out of season 1, and whether or not we want to keep those or not after watching the entire season.
Yes, I think that's stuff. And then, of course, we're going to, like he said, we're going to get into some theories, not only just about where we think the seasons are going, but maybe about specific characters. What do we think their character arc is going to look like? And we'll also go over what our favorite episodes were, as well as our least favorite episode of the season. So we have a lot to get to, and I'm excited to break it all down. This is, for those that have listened, you all know that The Nanny, I think it's better and better and better. It's like a wine. It gets better with time. And so now that we've gotten over what I think is probably the hardest part of this series to get through, I cannot wait to hear Dylan's impressions of it. And then I also know that Lost, from what I've ever heard, just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So I'm sure half the shit that I come up with for theories is going to be nowhere near how crazy it actually is. So I can't wait to break that down.
Oh, it's going to be good. I can't wait. 'Cause season 2 is just on another level of Lost. It is its own monster, no pun intended. And I can't wait to see your reactions to just some of the most amazing moments that are going to be coming forward from season 2. And same with The Nanny. You told me season 2 is a great season.
Yep.
It's, what's really funny? I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So you told me that season 4 and 5 are your favorite, correct?
3, 4, and 5. Yep.
3, 4, and 5.
I think 4 is the best.
It's really funny. I was just we were looking it up because I couldn't remember what your rankings were, and I just wanted to see what other people had ranked. I was gagged. Season 4 was rated the worst season on a few rankings thing, ranking websites
of The Nanny.
And I was just something's not right here, because they I understand why, but I also don't. Yeah. I'm like, I will
I know exactly why. This. Can I ask what are the fan rankings? Do you remember?
Season 1 and 2 were some of the highest ranked seasons out of the ones that they showed.
What?
Yeah. At least the websites I saw, that's what it was telling me. I was just like, okay. I didn't see the reasons why because I didn't want to get spoiled.
Don't look at the reasons why, but I can understand why people may not like season 4, but it's so good.
And that's all that matters.
Bitch.
Bitch.
I do think I'm rewatching 3 right now.
Yeah.
I didn't want to rewatch 2 because we're going to watch it together. So I was like, I just finished it. Let me go back and watch season 3 because it's just like a nice thing to have in the background. And even though I literally just watched it, 2 months ago when I was watching season 3, I literally like sitting here cracking up at some of the jokes. I just like the writing gets so tight in terms of the comedy.
And girl, that's all we are. That's all we are is tight.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like, I just wanted to get you to spit out your water.
It's so cruel to do with seltzer, by the way. I'm sitting here, it's just burning my mouth as I'm going with my tongue.
Oh my, I'm so sorry. Okay.
You're sorry to the audience that you made me do that. So they had to hear me go.
Oh God, I hate that. I hate that noise. I hate that sound, but I'm kind of into it. No. So let's get into, first off, do we want to do MVPs and LVPs first? Because I think it's such a great talking head.
Yes. Here. So let's do that. So first of all, shout out to Tyler Lyons, who was our guest in our last episode where we broke down the last 3 episodes of season 1 of Lost with him, but he also was an amazing fan and supporter of our podcast this season and kept an Excel spreadsheet.
It's amazing.
Of all of our LVP and LVPs for every single episode. Did I say LVPs and LVPs?
Maybe.
LVPs and MVPs. MVPs and LVPs. There we go.
Love that.
It's now available on iTunes.
I wish. Wait. Could you imagine, side note, a musical episode of Lost and a musical episode of The Nanny?
I mean,
there might be. There might be. I don't know if there is on The Nanny, but like.
I could see The Nanny do that. I don't know if I could see Lost. Could you imagine if they look at each other and go, oh my God, I fucking hate you. But also I have this tragic past. And then it cuts to the past and it's just like, oh my goodness, I hope this doesn't happen to me in the future.
And then the smoke monster comes out showing leg and run, dun, da, da, dun. I'm gonna kill you, bitch. Here we go. Like,
I love the idea that it comes out with like a fishnet stocking.
Yeah.
And like super sexual, but then has like this like super low bass voice as it sings.
What's up, bitches? I'm here to murder you. Like,
I kind of drag you down my hole, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I'm here for it. Lost.
Come through, reshoot. Sexy shadow monster.
Do another reshoot. We need a reshoot. Just give me a musical episode.
That'd be so good.
Everyone will look like 15 years older, but who cares?
It'd be so good. Oh, man.
Okay, so MVPs and LVPs. Let's start with The Nanny.
Okay.
Who was out of all of season 1, my top rated MVP?
With 6 episodes of MVP. Who do you think? I mean, like, I know that you've seen them, so maybe this isn't smart.
I'm not like referring. I saw glances of it. I didn't. Okay. You're the one that crunched the numbers. If I had to guess, probably Fran.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, it was either Fran or
Fran had 6.
Niles probably.
Niles is number 2 with 4. And then you only had one other repeat.
Maxwell?
Nope.
Cece?
Nope.
Maggie?
Nope.
Who?
Sylvia.
Oh, that Sylvia makes sense. Too. Yes, Queen.
You had Yetta at 1, which is funny because she's only 1 episode, which I like totally forgot when I was writing this down. You had Gracie at 1, you had Maxwell at 1, and Cece at 1.
And then we had a few one-offs, yeah.
And then you had some one-offs there. LVP. We talked about this beforehand, so this isn't as much of
I literally forgot.
Because the best part, he was like, let me guess, Beth, like your LVP is Shannon. I was like, actually, you have an LVP that comes way more often than Shannon, which is exactly. You have Maxwell at five episodes.
Which is crazy because I really like Maxwell as a character. But in the middle, he has this like weird arc where he's like not as likable. So he's like very likable in the beginning, not so likable in the middle. I think it's really likable towards the end.
It's so funny because literally 2 of the last 3 episodes you made of the LVP.
Well, it's because like he learns his lesson by the end, but also
does he? No.
He does, but then he doesn't. So like that's like kind of the shitty part about Maxwell. I remember, and now I'm referring to the list, that one weird episode with the mortician. Like I remember like those bookended. I really hated Maxwell. Like, and that makes sense in the LVPs because it goes Maxwell the mortician, then Maxwell, because I didn't like Max in that like middle section. I was just like, what is up with the character?
What? Why is he so bad? I also think what's really funny here is that I mean, most of your LVPs were one-off characters in terms of like, you only had one other character that was a repeat besides Maxwell for LVP, which was Niles at 2.
Which makes sense because here's a shocker. Y'all ready? If I had to rate right now, after watching all of season 1 of The Nanny, my least favorite character so far, it is Niles. I know, shocking. Now hear me out. Hear me out. Niles, amazing character. Love his comedy. He did not get anywhere near the storyline that any other characters got. So Niles from episode 1 to Niles episode 22 or 21 is pretty much the same character. There's no growth for him. There's a few flavorings of his backstory, but we didn't really get an arc for Niles besides like, I'm now part of a Butler's Association. The kids had story arcs. Maxwell had a story arc. Even Cece had a story arc. Fran did as well. Hell, even Sylvia did. And so it's hard for me to connect with a character like Niles because while he's only there to give like witty banter, I'm really hoping we get something more to chew on for Niles because it's either you really like his joke or he's a really gross man. And there's like a lot of moments, and that's why he had LVP twice, is because like there's some episodes he's just really gross and is like very sexual to women, and you're like, this is so out of character for Niles.
And you're like, dude, we know you're gay. Stop it.
Yeah, come on now. Like, she's the bottom. We knew. Like, come on.
I love. But then in terms of the main characters for the show, Fran, Gracie, Cece, Brighton, and Maggie all had one. Everybody else was a one-off character. Or you had once where you didn't choose anybody for LVP, which I'm fairly certain was the Slept Away episode.
Yeah, and we'll get into my favorite 3 episodes because you might see Slept Away up there.
Oh, I'm so shocked.
I know. But I remember specifically on that Slept Away podcast really struggling to find an LVP because like it's such a well-written episode that you could tell the cast was having so much fun with.
Yeah.
And I think they were having fun in that episode because they were all in the same room filming the same scene. Because normally in like a sitcom, you'll like only come out for your specific scene. And so you'll have like only Fran and Maxwell in a scene, only Niles and Gracie in a scene. But this one, it was like all on one set for the most part. And so all the actors were in the set the entire episode almost. And so they all fed off each other's energy and it was fun. And you could just tell the cast was having fun all being there at the same time. And it definitely paid off in that episode. We'll get into like more reasons why I really like Slept Away. But I'm not shocked by Fran being my number 1 MVP. She's just such a great character in season 1 of The Nanny. She really represents the class division that they're trying to hit, where she is like this woman who may or may not come from the poorer side of Queens. It's kind of confusing because of her outfit and the way she presents herself. It's definitely not lower class, but in a society that is so high class, she is low class.
Yeah.
And so is very relatable for a lot of these characters or a lot of the viewers to relate themselves to Fran. And it's just so refreshing because when Fran gets it right, she gets it really right. But then when she gets it wrong, it's not like because Fran's a shitty character. It's because of that class divide. And like sometimes like you still have to learn a lesson even though you're a relatable character. And so
or the lead.
Yeah, or the lead. And so I really like where they took Fran's arc in season 1. And like we talked about earlier as we were covering The Nanny, so many things happened in season 1 I did not predict.
Mm-hmm.
I did not predict the Maxwell Fran love story moving as fast as it did. I thought we weren't going to get any hints to it until like the finale, and they're like maybe they would kiss and you'd be like, oh, and then it'd be like a cliffhanger for season 2. And that's not what we got here. We got steady arcs into that. We got that scene where Maxwell was jealous and it kind of like went off from there. And it was really refreshing. It wasn't stereotypical of a sitcom. It was something that the writers could play around with if they wanted to, which sometimes was a hindrance in some episodes because there was inconsistencies where like sometimes Fran seems super into Maxwell and then the other times it looks like she doesn't give a shit. Same with Maxwell, seems to really care for her. And then the other times he's like, he could like really care less. And so I think that also comes down to like, it's their first season and we had talked about this. They didn't know when the show was going to end. So they have to like keep it going or something.
Yeah. Well, they would sit there and like order like a couple episodes at a time, write them, shoot them, and then anxiously wait and then go, okay, it's going. Get some more going, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that you're right. And this is what I think is really nice is that apparently after the first season aired in the summer when they ran it kind of in syndication a little bit or did reruns over the summer, that's where they found their true audience. And it was all the families that were home for break and wanted a sitcom that they could watch with the full family. And I was one of them. I was like 5, almost 6 years old over that summer. And I have a distinct memory of watching it with my parents. And then, or especially with my mom really loved it and I loved it too. And I was 6 years old. Now, what's great too, is like, there were jokes that came from this season that I didn't get until I was like in high school, rewatching it and being like, holy crap, that was like a very sexualized joke. And I had no idea, you know? So it's just kind of funny looking back on it. And then season 2, because they had a much more consistent shooting schedule, that's where you see some of the things get tightened up a lot more in terms of consistency. But
that makes sense.
It is a sitcom, and sometimes it's just not going to be there.
Totally. And that's also that's the tough part about this podcast is we have 2 very different shows. Like so one is like a serial sitcom, so it is comedy over anything else. And then you have a show like Lost, which is a dramatization kind of mystery show where mystery is like the number one factor that brought people in. So there's just
it's mystery, characterization, then plot, and then anything that makes some kind of logical sense afterwards.
Yeah. And
I think that's the one thing that bonds both of these shows is that sometimes logical sense is the last thing that both of these shows really worry about. Like we saw it like in the last couple episodes of The Nanny too, where you were like, how come Fran doesn't just like work as the nanny from afar? Like, why does she have to leave the job in order? Like, that doesn't make any logical sense, right? And so like we have to kind of play along with the shows sometime. I was bringing this up to you right beforehand because I was looking at some of the like little like blurbs about Lost, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot we had a whole episode where Shannon is like having an asthma attack, and then like is just seemingly fine even through the death of her friggin' brother. Like, you're telling me that doesn't induce like a panic attack that then induces an asthma attack? Like, what is going on? So sometimes these inconsistencies you just kind of have to give some grace to. I say we still call them out, but we go
totally. Yeah, totally. And I also want to point out if we do go with our new, and this is like a side note, so nothing to do with what we were talking about. If we do end up going with our new upload schedule of where we are going to separate out our Lost and Nanny podcast, this might be our last merger of the 2 episodes. So let me know and let Beth know if this is something that you look forward to. Do you want us to do like season recaps together? It's going to be tougher going further into it because we'll definitely finish Lost before we finish The Nanny because there's just so many more episodes of The Nanny than Lost.
But there will also be weeks where we will cover multiple episodes of The Nanny because when I thought about it, there are episodes that go together because they were like filmed in such a way, like season finales and such.
Yeah.
But there are also episodes that are like a lot of sitcoms did this in the 90s where they would do clips. Like it's like there's a very vague plot and it's just like clips from a prior episode more so than anything else or for prior episodes. And so I would say there's probably about 5 of those episodes throughout season 3, 4, 5, and 6 that we can look forward to as well. So I think that mathematically we won't end up with like 20 more episodes of The Nanny. We'll probably end up with like 10 more. So
that's still doable.
That's doable, I think.
Okay, so let's go over your MVPs and LVPs for Lost.
Okay, so because there are way more characters in Lost, I actually think it's quite impressive that I had one person consistently
as your MVP.
At 7.
Holy crap.
I had Locke as an MVP. Oh my
gosh. I mean, that's not a shock. You really do.
I really like him. I like that he's complicated, that I don't know what his true intentions are about. I don't know what his true backstory is. I think that he's, I think part of this for me too is that as I've gotten older, I really do genuinely care what people who have more life experience than me have to say. And I really think that I feel like if you had asked 16-year-old Beth when this show was airing, who's your favorite character? I would have said Jack or Kate or somebody like that. Like, I really think so. I truly think that there's something magnetic to me about Locke that I find interesting and inspiring.
Got it. So you're saying that Tyler is a 16-year-old Beth? No, I'm kidding.
We've been new. Yes. No. You know what's really funny? So for those that don't know, like Tyler and I, it's stupid how much we have in common, and we will literally say the same thing at the same time and hold the same opinions about stuff. But it's so funny. Lost is like the first time where we really have divergent feelings about things. So that's what's been kind of fun. And our biggest crux is Jack. So who do you think was my second most popular MVP?
Easy. I didn't even have to look at the list. Saeed.
Okay, Saeed at 4.
Loved Saeed.
I love Saeed. Yeah. I genuinely, even though Locke has been my MVP, and I do think that he's definitely one of my favorite characters, I think Saeed is one of my favorite characters. And the only reason I don't think he's more MVP is because he got in this stupid relationship with Shannon. If he hadn't done this storyline, I literally think I'd be like every week, like, he's just so, like, so smart and like such a good leader and like he's so handsome and like I like literally would always just choose him. But then I had 2 people tied for 3rd place.
Okay, without looking, if I had to guess, no, that wouldn't be one. Sawyer?
Nope, I only had Sawyer once.
Okay.
I had a whole bunch of people once, but these are the last 2 I had multiples.
Sun
is one of them at 3.
Oh, okay. Wow, 3. Okay. Sun, and I'm going to guess Jack.
Yeah. Sun and Jack.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think I don't even remember you ever giving Jack MVP.
So here's the thing. I gave Jack 2 MVPs within the first 5 episodes. And then I gave him a 3rd one at episode 12. And then I have exclusively been on the hate train since then. So there was a shift that happened.
It all makes sense.
But I think it's really funny. I do think it's hilarious that I have never given Kate an MVP.
I don't think you should, though. I mean, if you think back of her career in season 1, like, what has she done?
Fuck all.
Yeah.
And I'm also realizing I never wrote her down here. 1 second. Okay. So then I have 3 people who are my most popular LVPs.
Okay. I would say Shannon.
What? Yeah, no, that's
my gosh.
That's what.
I remember you early season not liking Sawyer, so I would say Sawyer maybe.
Nope, I only gave him LVP once.
Okay. Jin?
Nope, I gave it to Tim twice.
Okay. So we have Shannon, Jack.
Yep.
For sure.
And then the third one.
The third one is Kate.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Shannon, Kate, and Jack are my top three. I really feel like, once again, Kate's is more because of the writers than anything else.
Yeah.
This is where we have a severe lack of not being able to write and translate the badassery, the independent person that we see in the flashbacks. And this very well could be intentional, that it gets solved as a part of the plot, but right now it feels like a disconnect. And that very well, I could look back at this and be like, oh, Beth, look at this wonderful journey you were on with Kate. We were all on it, but then this happens in season 3, episode blah, blah, blah. And we realize it all ties together. Like, I don't know. That very well could be the case. I think we also know that, like, it's not hard for me to say that Shannon is my least favorite character.
She's so bad.
And here's the thing about it. Besides the fact that she is just literally an awful person, and she really doesn't have too many redeemable things, I think like they literally wrote everybody to be really gray, but they like intentionally wrote her to be like really bad, like without really much redemption. And the only person I think is kind of a balance to that is Claire, who is seen as really good with not so much bad stuff. And I think that's really interesting. But I'm going to put it out there again. I think we've seen this character before. We know who this character is. We've seen the entitled, bratty, rich, pretty girl who can do whatever she wants and whatever. Like,
the OC.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally name any show from the 90s or
on MTV.
You know what I mean? I just kind of generally feel like there's a part of me that's like, I hope they do something that is unexpected with her character. And if the unexpected was that she gets in a relationship with Saeed, then like, that's just not good enough. I'm sorry about it. Also, does she remember that she fucked over Saeed in the airport? I don't know. And if she does, she's an awful person for not telling Saeed. Oh, wait, we already knew that. And then Jack, as I said before, like, I think I started off really liking Jack. And like, when he wasn't interested in being a leader, but was put in the position of being so. And then it's like the power gets to him about halfway through the season where it's like his way or the highway, which I can understand if people have been putting you on a pedestal and putting you in this position of power without really your consent of doing so. Like, of course, that's going to affect like how you feel and think about things. But it's gotten to the point where like he does more harm than good. I understand what he's trying to do. But at the end of the day, like, the only person who checks him really is Sun. Like, Kate will check him.
Yeah, I say Locke does sometimes.
Locke did at the very end, but Locke didn't for a long time because it behooved him not to on a selfish front. Totally. Kate like does but doesn't, because she like, again, I think this is such weird writing because I'm like, okay, like check him or go with Sawyer. I don't know. Like, if there's going to be a love triangle, flush it out a little bit more because it just seems weird.
I can't wait till we get to your least favorite episode because I'm pretty sure I can guess what it is.
Okay.
But it has to tie into like the weird writing. Like there's just so many strange choices. So who would you say out of those three is your most hated character?
Shannon.
I said Niles is mine. Okay,
Shannon.
So Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. There's nothing redeemable in her eyes except for the fact she has like one of the best boyfriends, and like that's not a reflection of her. That's a reflection of the stupidity. That is a character flaw in him. That's something that like I, as a person, I'm like, I can change him. Like that's what I would change. Just be like, dump her, and then you're changed, and you're good. You're like good to do whatever. Totally. I think my favorite character, like I said before, is still like it's a toss up between Locke and Saeed. I really, really enjoy both of those characters. Yeah.
Do you want to get into then the next section of this that I would like to do is we do character predictions. So these aren't
Should we do character predictions for those that we said were our least favorite and
I like
most favorite? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll do like character predictions, and then this is less like theories of what you think is going to happen, but you can still talk about what you think is going to happen.
More like an arc.
Yeah, what do you think is going to specifically the next arc of this character? Yeah, for season 2. So I'll go and start with the nanny. So my number one character from obviously season 1 was Fran. I think the character arc for Fran is we're going to start focusing in on this relationship with Maxwell because how I see it, and this is outside of the show, they had a very successful first season of The Nanny. And they knew what worked. They loved that people loved when Maxwell and Fran did things. And they were like, ooh, they're supposed to be employees, but they're getting nasty with each other. And so I think that's going to be extrapolated in season 2 to the point where they kiss. They kiss, and not like the kiss that was in season 1.
Where he was like, you're the best. Mwah.
Yeah.
And then they both kind of shocked me.
It's going to be like maybe a drunken kiss that like happens, and then maybe there's like a step back and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't do this isn't a thing. And that's like the whole episode, that whole season is like, can they or can't they? Like, can you mix business with pleasure? Because she's like, maybe she'll start developing feelings for Maxwell, and Maxwell's like, or she's like, I don't know if I can do this job anymore because it's like a weird power dynamic now where the man that I am falling for is my boss. And Maxwell similarly is like, should I fire Fran? Because
I thought you were gonna say, should I fuck Fran?
Oh, they're fucking, honey. No, that's what I
should think. I fuck Fran? Oh,
exactly. Should I fuck her? In terms of Niles is the tough one. I feel like we're not going to get any story arc of Niles in season 2 because I am assuming, was a fan favorite character in season 1. And because his niche of just being the guy that gives like the digs and the one-liners on Cece, the producers won't want to switch that up and the writers won't want to switch that up too much. They might pepper in a little bit more of his backstory. I think if they pepper in backstory, it's going to be more so about the boyhood friendship between Maxwell and Niles, less so about what Niles is doing when Maxwell's not around. And we're going to get just more one-liners from Niles, more shade thrown at Cece. Like, just give us like above and beyond what we got in season 1 because it worked. And they're like, we need to keep the ratings going. We need to keep the show afloat. So I don't think we're going to get much of an arc for Niles, which is unfortunate. But I do think we're going to get even more Fran. We're going to get more of this like relationship between her and Maxwell. And I'll tell my theories about like overall what's going to happen because it incorporates the kids.
Gotcha.
Yeah, those are like my character predictions.
Nice. I like them. I think that I'm interested to see how you react when you watch season 2.
I can't wait.
This is going to be good. So for me, my LVP was Shannon. My MVP was Locke. So let me start with Locke. Okay. I think just based off of what that key line that Jack says in the finale, which is, if we survive this, we're going to have a Locke problem. I think that whatever's down in this hatch, now that they've opened it, this is now going to be the pet project for Locke. And I think that he's somebody who gets obsessive with, this is my destiny. This is what I need to do. Yeah. I need to serve the island. I was failing the island. And the island took away my legs again. And then I have it back. And like, which is like, can we just talk about that for a second? How has Locke not made any mention of the fact, like in any capacity? Oh, my legs are back now. They were gone for like a day, but we're good now. Like, I know he wasn't talking to anybody, but I mean, like, it's one of those things where, like,
I think
is that going to come back?
I don't know, because and this is the tough part here, is in that episode we also learned that his mother is schizophrenic, and so we have to like question: is it psychosomatic? Like, did he actually not lose his ability to walk, and he just thought he lost his ability to walk, and so like his muscles just like seized up? I think there's a lot happening here because it is strange that in the storyline of that episode, you're supposed to bring into question Locke's actual sanity, and you're not like, is he talking to the island, or does he think he's talking to the island? And so he really is, because he thinks he is. Exactly.
And I think that this is what is going to be interesting. I think we're going to see him become even more like overtly fanatical about the island, especially now that we know the others like we've seen them now, or like even if they're agents of the others, but there is like these others, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he interacts with. I'm assuming we are going to be introduced to more characters just based on the fact of the presence of the others. So whether those are all the others, which I don't think they would be, I think that this is like a small contingency of them that like kidnaps Walt in the very end. And I think that the hatch is somehow connected to the others or those that have created a safe haven away from the others at another point. I don't know. But I do think that what we're going to see is Locke continue to play this really weird middle ground role where he is getting more fanatical about his reasons for doing things. I think that we can expect that there's going to be a real wedge drive between him and Jack. And I think that that will, in a weird way, test Kate's loyalty to Jack. I think that what we're going to find is Sayid, who has already said, I think our best tool for surviving this island is Locke, and that's why he hasn't killed him. I think that Locke is by default because he knows this island and he tends to know things about people really well. I think that we're going to see people by de facto going to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not because they truly believe in him, but because they have no other choice. And I think that that's going to be a spiral for Jack. So that's kind of like my character arc that I can see him going. I think that there's something, I think that we can expect that he's not going to appear anywhere near as sane as he, and maybe as level as he did in season 1. As for Shannon, I think in season 2, we are going to see her die. No, just kidding.
I was like, oh shit. Okay.
No, if anything, if there's one thing I figure with this show, they will never kill her because she's so unlikable that they're like, we're just going to, they were like, we killed her brother who was kind of annoying, but like ultimately had a heart of gold and was trying to do the best thing, even though he had a weird ass crush on like this horrible human. That also was a stepsister. But I definitely feel like this is going to turn into a situation where like, they will never kill Shannon because she is just so fucking evil. So I think this season has done really nothing to do anything to really redeem her. The most they did was like, oh, she helped out with trying to uncover some things in French. But even when she did that, she had a huge attitude problem and she like was such an asshole the entire time. So the one thing that's going to be interesting is now she has Vincent.
Yeah.
So this really could help in her redemption in some capacity in terms of character redemption.
Yeah.
But I don't think all of a sudden she's just going to be this amazing, like wonderful person. I think that she's going to continue to be entitled. I think that she's going to continue to hate Locke. I think that Sayid will ultimately side with Locke too many times on big decisions that will, I think she's going to have resentment for Locke because I think that she will always believe that Locke killed Boone. Yeah. And I think that that's going to cause issues between her and Sayid. So I don't know like what her relationship looks like, but I think that she ends up taking more comfort in having this like emotional support dog. Yeah. But I also think that dog might be able to help her I don't know, like process some of the pain, not just from Boone. I feel like she's just somebody who is very insecure and hurt. And I think that maybe this is like the way that she channels some of that out to be a more productive member of the island, like survivors.
Yeah, I think like that's a really good theory because she hasn't really atoned for any of the crimes or anything that she's done. So maybe this is like a chance for her to not only feel the feelings of Boone's death, but like maybe feel the feelings of the shitty things that she did to Boone,
maybe,
and to like other people in her life. Now that
I think gone. That if there's one thing that I think, like, yes, of course, I think that she misses her brother, but I think that she's more mad that she never really got to atone with him for the things that she did to make him like go crazy in life, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with those two characters.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask you about 2 more characters because there's a lot of characters in Lost, and I'm just curious your thoughts. You said your second favorite character was Sayid. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the story arc for Sayid? You kind of already touched on this a little bit, but I'm just curious.
So I think that what we're going to find is that I don't think he's ever going to do anything to actually hurt or kill Locke. I think that he's going to side more ethically and morally with Jack on things.
Yeah.
But execution wise on plans is probably going to go more with Locke, because he knows that Locke, has this innate ability to like really understand the island or what they're at. And I think that because he's a communications person, he thrives off of information that he can get from people. And he knows that he can get information from Locke based off of like his mannerisms and such. And he also knows that as long as there's something that's a mystery there's something to find out about him. So why kill somebody or hurt somebody or get revenge on somebody that you can potentially get information out of? That is not the game that he's going to play, which I think is going to upset people like Jack and Shannon. So I could see a wedge kind of driven. I really think that this is where we're going to find, like, we have this whole Locke versus Jack leadership thing. But to be perfectly honest, like, Saeed's 100% a leader. And I think that what we're going to find with him is that he kind of starts putting Jack and Locke in their places and tries to like become the leader, because he's like, both of you are wrong and awful, and I'm going to step in with a person who has a brain and say something. So that's where I kind of feel like he's going to be.
Yeah. And then your third favorite character was Charlie. No.
Who was my third? Oh, no. Son and Jack I had first.
I just want to see your fucking face. So actually, I'm curious about Son. Now that Jin is not on the island, he is on the raft where, well, we'll see, because the raft kind of got destroyed.
Are they? Now it's on a piece of wood floating.
That's true. Piece of wood floating. They seem to have gotten pretty far, though. So, like, we can pretty much guess that Sun and Jin will not be reunited anytime soon, or at least like it'd take some time for Jin to make his way back to Sun, or vice versa. What do you think Sun's character arc is now that Jin is kind of not in the picture?
Honestly, I think that this is where she can truly come into her own, because she started to become much more independent and do the things that she wanted to do to help others. She could start speaking English more. She like was planting things. She was helping Jack with the Eastern medicine that she knows. And I think that all we're going to be able to see is her turn really much more into like this independent, like person who doesn't take shit, because she doesn't have to worry about what is Jin going to think. And even though she lost some of that with his presence there, she always was going to be checking it against like, maybe I can get him back. So I truly think that there's also the point that she's like, knows that Jin is out there for her. So she's got to, so I think that this will be kind of a dilemma for her, which is like, I'm doing all these wonderful things, but is this the woman that Jin would want when he comes back? So I think that we might be able to potentially see some of that. So I think that that's kind of where she's at. I think that she's an interesting voice in Jack's ear, because she doesn't agree with him a lot of the time. I could also see her being somebody who becomes a very trusted protector of Claire and her baby. I see this as a relationship that's worth building. And then, of course, we also have this really unique relationship between her and Kate, where she's kind of a Kate secret keeper.
She is.
And they have a close enough relationship where, like, she was even willing to, on Kate's suggestion, try to poison Jin to a certain extent. So we know that the lengths that she'll go to try to quote unquote protect people that she cares about. But we also know that she implicitly trusts Kate, goes to her for advice a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how that thrives or grows apart.
Yeah, they become lesbians. No, could you imagine? That'd be sickening. Like,
I would just be like, oh my God, this is exactly the women's right we needed at this point. That was like, fuck men. Which, by the way, I do need to bring this up.
Go for it.
In episode 10, my LVP was literally all men.
But if you remember that episode, it's true. All the men don't believe anything Claire says. And then Claire ends up getting her ass like kidnapped or something. Isn't that? I think that's the episode. And so like, it's like, of course, like, why would you not believe the woman who is saying that she's been attacked?
Wait. Can we repeat that again? We're not believing the woman that was attacked. Wow.
Oh. Wow, the concept.
What a novel idea.
The concept. Love that. Actually, I hate that.
Good thing that only happens in a fictional show and not at all in real life. Why don't we on that train, I was just going to say, why don't we say what our least favorite and our favorite episodes were for the season? Yeah. And then we can get into what we think is going to happen in season 2 overall.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'll start off with the Nanny. So I will say first, my runner-up episode out of the top 3 was drumroll. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh God, that's so loud. Yes, Queen. There we go. Franny's Choice. Franny's Choice was my runner-up. Almost made my top 3. Only reason.
Wait, you mean like it's an honorable mention?
Honorable mention, yeah.
It's okay, because I'm sitting here runner-up like as in second place.
No. Sorry, runner-up to my top 3. It didn't make my top 3.
So it's an honorable mention.
Honorable mention, yes.
I also have 2 honorable mentions, so this is funny.
Okay, cool. So my Franny's Choice is my honorable mention. It's a great episode. I think it has a lot of like fun stuff that happens in it, but again, it suffers from logic. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, this entire episode makes no sense and it doesn't need to exist. It's a great episode though. Mm-hmm. It's really funny. It has like a moral dilemma in it. And I think the character acting in it is really great. My third favorite episode of season 1 of The Nanny, it's a weird one, is Personal Business. I thought was a really good episode. So Personal Business, if I remember correctly, was the first episode that we got a hint that Maxwell was interested in Fran. And it stands out to me because of that. Mm-hmm. The actual plot of the episode isn't that stellar. It's like this guy, he's like wants to get with Fran and Fran doesn't know whether or not. This is also a great episode because Fran stands up for herself and like kicks the guy to the curb at the end of the episode. This
is the soap opera star, right? Yeah,
the soap opera star guy. It's hard because like when I think about it, I'm like, is it my favorite? But I think that ending to the episode like solidifies it for me where Maxwell's just like, and that's where and I think it's because personally, that's when I was shocked. I was like, we're getting this in episode 9. Oh my God. Like I was floored. Do you want to say your honorable mention and then your episode 3 and then we'll work our way up that way?
Okay. So I had 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
The first honorable mention is Numbers.
Great episode.
Because what this has done is had more of a lasting effect than any other episode in terms of the things that I keep looking out for in addition to just the plot. And also it was kind of just like a fun episode to follow Hurley around with his bad luck. Like it sounds awful to say it like that. But it was kind of a refreshing, different kind of feel of an episode. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So that is an honorable mention for me. And the other honorable mention I had was The Moth. I loved the symbolism through it with Charlie and his drug addiction that he kept going to Locke about his drugs. And then, he gets caught in the cave with Jack and they literally emerge from a cocoon, like, cause they fight their way through it. It's like hit over the head, but there's also I love the writing of it. I love the metaphor. And then on top of that, I do think that's like the only episode where I've truly been like, you know what? Charlie's not that bad, but that's like the only episode so far. So I kind of like that. I like when I get a little bit of like, stop bad mouthing somebody, Beth, because you never know what they've gone through. So those were my 2 runner-ups, or like not runner-ups, but my honorable mentions. And my third one is, I just have to remember. Yes. My third place one is my favorite Saeed episode, Solitary.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
Where this is the first time we really get a good sense of action, where we're moving the plot forward. We get to be introduced to Rousseau. This is where Saeed is captured by her. We learn more about the transmission. We learn about the others for the first time and the whispers. And we're hearing about Nadia and like all these different kinds of things. And to me, that continues to stand out. Like I kept comparing episodes to this one throughout the season. But even so, I feel like there were 2 episodes that will always beat it in season 1.
It's funny because like episode 9 of both season 1 of The Nanny and season 1 of Lost were fucking stellar.
They were good.
Yeah, it was a good ass recap episode.
And that was, we also did 2 episodes of The Nanny that time because we also covered the Christmas episode, which I believe was episode 10. So like, so funny to me that like we fit a lot in that podcast.
We did. And I actually remember really liking that Christmas episode too. I thought it was like pretty good for what it was. So my second, this is the tough one. The 2 episodes I was struggling.
I know what one of them is going to be. So if you don't say it here, I think I know what it'll be.
So my number 2 is Schlepped Away.
Okay.
So Schlepped Away is just so much fun. It's clearly represented by the fact that I have no LVPs from it. I thought everyone did a stellar job. I think it's such a great episode. It literally makes no sense timeline-wise why it's there, but it's so much fun, and the writers had a blast writing it. And they were like, let's take all these characters that we've developed over the season so far and just throw them all in the same room and see how they react and just throw things at them. I also have to give a shout out to this episode for covering an insane topic of the 90s of Sylvia potentially, not polyamorous, but like,
in a flirtmance.
Yeah, a flirtmance. Like Morty being okay with his wife flirting with another man, and like unheard of the time. Sylvia would be called like a slut, a whore, any of that kind of stuff in the 90s. And so it's so awesome to see a sitcom that is comedy based handle that in not a comedy way.
But also like having an older mid-sized woman, not like some like young newlywed ingenue, blah blah blah. Like that's what I think is like so cool about that, is that like that is the character that you're supposed to be like, oh, I know that is my aunt, or that is my mom, or this is so and so. Like that's what I think is even better about it.
Also, it has a really cute outfit. I just remember Fran in the kitchen with Maxwell and her like vacation outfit, and it's just so cute. It's such a memorable moment.
It's a good one.
That's definitely my number 2.
My number 2 is the pilot episode.
Oh, wait, which one? Part 1 or part 2?
The part 1.
Part 1, okay.
Because I thought I had seen this before. I thought I remember watching the plane crash and that kind of thing. But we get the like siren noise of the monster, which I definitely thought was the dog at first. Like I thought that was so funny. Like looking back, part of this is just fun to like. Part of the reason why these episodes are like, this is number 2 for me is because like my half-baked theories are funny to look at now.
Yeah, you know? You're like so all over the place.
Just like, but like also it is incredible that they open up with Jack just being in the woods and trying to figure out what's going on. And there's chaos happening around him. There's an engine that's still running. Inexplicably, people are standing in front of it, which is stupid. Like there's things about this that are really interesting to me. And then we're seeing references to this opening scene from different angles throughout the rest of the season. So I think it's so cool to like go back and think about the positionality of everybody in that first episode, and how the first time we're introduced to, like the monster, how the pilot, like you had told me, was supposed to be the Jack character. And then they were like, we like this guy better. And they like kill off the pilot instead. So there's just little things like that I think are interesting. One thing that I think is interesting is that I thought this was going to be a recurring theme throughout the entirety of the show, was Jack saying that he, like, whenever he's nervous about something, he counts to 5 and then he just lets it go. Like they have made no reference to that again, but they made such a big poignant moment of it that I thought this was going to be a theme that he does, where like you see him kind of like, and just go.
Yeah. And I will say they do refer to it again going forward. So it's not like a one and done thing. Like it is a thing that does come back, but you're right. It doesn't really like play a part in
the way I thought it would. But yeah, so that to me, I think is, I'm here for the pilot. I like it a lot.
That's great. I love to hear that. And my number 1 episode, this was tough between Schlepped Away and this one, was I Don't Remember Mama. It's such a good episode. It's got the drama. It's got the heartfelt moments. It's got hilarity in it. And at the end of the day, it is the season finale of season 1 of The Nanny. So it does have like a really great sentimental value to it. I should say, since you said 2 honorable mentions, my other honorable mention is the first episode. I think
the pilot.
The pilot episode's really good. But this, I don't remember Mama, is just something that I could see why fans of The Nanny go back to, because it's like, oh my gosh, like it all makes sense. It all wraps up season 1 so well, because like this storyline of Gracie and her mother, and like it's really like unhealthy behavior that she has attaching to Fran, all makes sense when you get to this episode and you're like, I got it. That makes complete sense. So yeah, that's my number 1 episode of The Nanny season 1.
And after I give my number 1, I want to hear what your 3 favorite episodes are of Lost, and I'll give you my 3 favorite of The Nanny, because these are our favorite shows. So I want to hear how we compare. Totally. My favorite is kind of a cop out here, but I went for Exodus part 1 and 2. I think the finale as well.
Okay.
The reason being is because we have been craving all season long, open the fucking hatch, or like get off the island on the raft, or like just all these things that we want to happen finally happen, and then immediately mystery takes place and you're like, Gah! And like that's what I think that just makes it so good, and it ties in all these elements. It ties in the numbers, which I already told you I really liked. It ties in like these character developments and non-developments, the things that they've regressed in, and like the manicness and like everything. Like the audience is playing along with the characters of this desperation, and it's impossible to watch that and not feel like I want this solved right now. Come on, So I'm 100% in on the finale. And I did Exodus 1 and 2 because I honestly couldn't even tell you what happened in 2 versus 1 sometimes. I think that they just kind of bled together the way we watched them. So, but that to me is my number 1.
Ooh, see, my top 3 are very different than yours.
Okay. I know. I know that people listening will be like, Locke was your favorite, and you didn't even say like a Walkabout or anything like that. Interesting. Go on.
Yeah. Well, before I say my top 3 episodes of The Lost, let me say my worst episode of The Nanny. This was tough. I had a hard time really remembering.
This was tough because the whole season was trash, and
I thought that there was some great ones. I think I'm gonna have to go with Imaginary Friend.
You really hated that one.
I did not like the episode. I thought the characterization of Gracie was just like not very good. The comedy in it wasn't very good, and it just left a sour taste in my mouth after watching it. It almost made me want to go like, let's just watch the next one, can we? Because it wasn't very good. So worst episode of season 1, hands down, Imaginary Friend.
Gotcha. My least favorite was Raised by Another, season 10. All the men, they suck. Invalidating Claire.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, to me, that was so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because some of it also I do think was just like poor writing as well. And I think that this was an episode where like the women are actively suffering from men who aren't written the way that I would assume their characters would react in certain situations.
Agreed.
But yeah, anyway, I did not like that episode.
So this is tough for my top 3. Hands down, my favorite episode of season 1, just because it is so memorable and it's such a good shock value, is Walkabout. After watching and recapping this, so if before recapping this, I would have said Walkabout is my number 1 episode of season 1.
Yep.
After rewatching everything, it is not. It is my number 3. So my number 3 favorite episode of season 1 is Walkabout. I think it sets a great tone for the show in the sense that like you watch it and you just get like it's heavy-handed, like what's going to happen. But like, if you're not really paying attention and you're just kind of like casually watching, and then that ending happens, you're like, wait, he's in a fucking wheelchair and then he can walk. It sets like another level of the mystery of the show where you're like, wait, what is happening here?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah,
exactly. I think this is, again, it's so tough because I'm also thinking of it from like the first time I watched it to now. I agree with you. I think my second favorite episode is the first episode. Pilot part 1 is just so memorable. That scene where they're all on that beach and it's just chaos. It's so much fun. Before recapping,
do you think that they thought it was fun on the beach?
They thought it was a blast.
They were like, yes.
Party time. I'm bleeding out of my head. If before recapping all this, I would have said probably Deus Machina. So I really liked that episode because that is the episode where Boone is in the Beechcraft and it falls over. And for some reason, throughout watching all of Lost, all 6 seasons, the scene where Locke has that vision of Boone saying, Teresa goes up the stairs, Teresa goes down the stairs, always stuck with me because it's one of the rare scary scenes in Lost. There are a few episodes within Lost that could be classified as horror. And I think like that specific scene is very horror because it's the first time we've been getting that we've gotten this like very strange. There was one where Claire saw Locke with like the black and white eyes, and he was saying like weird shit. But this is the time where it was like really creepy, and I really like when Lost does that, where it's like takes a concept of like a dream and it flips it on its head, and it's like this is actually like a fucked up nightmare that you're about to see.
Or a vision of some sort.
Yeah, like a fucked up vision. And so that's what I would have said Deus Machina. It does not make my top 3 list anymore after recapping these shows. I think my number 1 favorite episode, I think I'm going to give it to Solitary. After rewatching everything, I think Solitary is
my influence. I was kidding.
No, but I think it is because it's the perfect blend of mystery, drama, and comedy. So like the Hurley and Charlie storyline of them going to build a golf course is so funny. And it's perfectly spaced out where it's like the 9th episode. So it's right before, or it's right at the end of the first arc of the story. And it kicks off the next level of the mystery where it's like, we introduced to Rousseau. We're introduced to like all these other things. We're learning about the others. We're learning about whispers. We're learning about all these other concepts that are going to later become bigger parts in season 1. And it's done in such a way where you're just as confused as Saeed is when he gets captured. And it's so fun as a viewer to go on that journey.
Yeah.
I do think, though, I only say that now after recapping it. Another episode that I would give an honorable mention to is All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues. Because that Ethan reveal is pretty fun, where we're like revealed that like Ethan was not on the plane. That like it's the first time that a character's life has been at risk, and that's Charlie. Like when he's hung up, you're like, oh shit, is he they're really about to kill off Charlie? And I just remember watching that the first time being like, oh, this is crazy. I love this show so much. But that, I think my top 3 for sure would be my number 1 Solitary, number 2 Pilot Part 1, number 3 is Walkabout. For sure.
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. In looking at the Nanny, I also have a couple things that have changed. I actually didn't think of this at all as a good episode, and now it's my number 3 for this season, which is Maggie the Model.
That's a great one. I almost considered that too.
I loved it so much upon a rewatch. And like when I do rewatches, I do oftentimes start from beginning to end, but there's a lot of times I honestly skip seasons 1 and 2. I just go right back to 3. I started rewatching it again. But we just covered one so in depth that I was like, I'm not going to watch season 1. And then I decided not to watch season 2 again because we're about to watch that together. So I started at 3 again. But it is something that, like, because I don't watch it as often as the other ones, that I sit back and I'm like, you know what? This was like really good pacing. It had a couple moments that were like slightly creepy, but and like one or two jokes that did not age well. But other than that, it really was just a solid episode all the way around. And I really like the dynamic of, as I'm knocking over my my mic. I love the dynamic of Fran and Maxwell in this episode, and Fran and Maggie. I think that there's a lot of really good like jokes going on. So I just love that. My second favorite, it has always been my second favorite and probably always will be, which is the butler, the husband, the wife, and her mother.
Okay. That one's a good
love
one.
the comedy of errors of this so much. It plays around with, the fact it's the 6th episode and they're already playing with who's playing what character essentially. It's so fun to me. I love this basic idea of, do you know where the phrase a comedy of errors comes from?
Yes.
The Shakespeare. Okay. Yeah. So I did the musical based off of Comedy of Errors, also known as You Like It, maybe, or As You Like It. Sometimes they do it like that. But a Comedy of Errors is basically, there are 2 sets of twins, one that were like rich, one that were like the servants, and like one half of each of the set of twins were in a shipwreck with a father, and then the other ones were with the mother, and they were ended up being from enemy towns as they grew up. And there's like the 2 that don't live in the main town of Syracuse or of Ephesus come from Syracuse, which is like the enemy city. And there's mistaken identity galore, blah, 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 blah. I was in the musical version of that. And it is so much fun to play with mistaken identity. And I think they did such a fun job of like playing around with, that's Niles, the butler. And Maxwell's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not a butler. And then like the kids are getting like snacks from their dad and like, kind of sticking it to him. And it's just kind of so fun.
It was a cute episode.
And my favorite of all time for this season, I have to give it to I Don't Remember Mama. Like it is, it always makes me cry, that last scene. It always makes me cry. There are elements of it that don't make any sense. Why the fuck is Patti LaBelle there? We don't care. She's fucking awesome. Like that is so funny that like, why is Patti LaBelle the person they have to go against in like this talent competition? And the fact they still get runner up is so funny to me. It's just, there's so much in that episode. There's a lot of heart and there's a lot of laughter, and we finally get a lot of the closed gaps like you mentioned before. But ultimately, this is one of the few times where I will say the kids outshine the adults. And I love that moment. And I won't be able to fully contextualize things until you've watched the entireness of the series. But even upon rewatches, I cannot wait to watch that episode. So my least favorite upon a rewatch, where was it? I think has to go... Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, The Show Must Go On.
I almost considered that one too. I freaking hated that one.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. Where Gracie's the lead. The only thing I like about it is that the little girl sings Johnny One Note, which is from another musical that I did. Same composers. That was Rodgers and Hart, who did The Boys from Syracuse, and they did Babes in Arms. And this is from Babes in Arms. And I was just like, that's about it. I like that she goes, Johnny could one least thing, one note. And that's it. I'm like, okay.
I mean, it's an iconic moment. Also, I forgot to say my least favorite episode, I can't even remember the name of it, on Lost, was the one where Jack and Kate awkwardly act like they're in love, and it lasts for one episode.
What the fuck was that?
It was the dumbest episode. I truly can't remember the name of it, or which one it was, but it was such a painfully obvious written episode that writer was not in the writer's room, just had to throw something together.
Was that House of the Rising Sun?
It might have been.
Because it's before they're at the caves, right? Before they figure out. It's towards the beginning of the series.
It's the episode where they are all lovey-dovey, and then by the end of it, they're not lovey-dovey because Kate doesn't want to go to the caves and he does.
Yeah.
So maybe it was House of the Rising Sun.
Yes, it is, because it says Kate, Jack, and Sawyer Saeed argue where the survivors should set up their camp. So that's House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah, so that was my worst episode, hands down, of season 1.
I considered that one as well, to be honest with you.
It's so dumb. Okay, cool. Let's get into our season 2 theories. I feel like yours are going to be juicier, so I'm going to go first with the nanny.
Mine are going to be juicy, but in a way that makes no friggin' sense, because I'm about to pull some massive, like, just shit out
I can't
of
wait.
Nothing.
Pull it out of your poop hole, your boonie hole.
My boonie hole.
You're going to get it every episode now.
I'm going to laugh if the reason why you think it's funny is because they do say boonie hole, and you're like, Beth thinks she started something, but the truth is
little
boonie hole is a thing.
Yeah, it's like what that monster was pulling Locke into was called a boonie hole.
I'm like dead thinking about it.
So my theory for season 2 of The Nanny, I kind of already touched on that a little bit with my theory about Fran, but I do think that what we're going to see is the relationship between Maxwell and Fran get pushed further, because that's what's going to get them ratings, because this is
together.
They're not gonna, I don't think they're going to get into a relationship. The entire season 2 will be will they, won't they? It is like they acknowledge the fact that they are into each other, but they are also trying to respect professional boundaries. And so I think that there will be a titular episode where maybe Maxwell says, titties. No, where he like hints very heavily that he is interested in Fran, or Fran says the same about Maxwell, maybe drunkenly, and it's awkward for them afterward. And it's just like, ooh, like, yeah, like let's not talk about what happened last night. And I think not like
they bang?
I don't think they bang. I don't think they bang in season 2. If they do, it's towards the end. But I think what's going to happen is season 2, based off what we've seen in season 1, I'm going to go past season 2. So I think season 2 story arc is will they, won't they?
Okay.
By the end of season 2, they get into a relationship.
Okay.
Season 3 is their relationship and her no longer being the nanny, but basically kind of adopting the kids in a way.
Okay.
And by the end of season 3, there's a marriage. I think or they get proposed. There's like a proposal that happens. I think season 4, they're married. And I think the reason why people may or may not like the show is the dynamic of the show changes. Because it's no longer a will they, won't they. They're already married. And so it just becomes a standard sitcom at that point.
Yeah.
Where it's like the mom, the dad, they're married, the kids, and the butler.
It's still inexplicably called The Nanny.
It's still called The Nanny because it is. But I think the interesting part of season 4 is we see, and this is my theory from earlier in season 1, where Fran and Cece become friends, where it becomes more, or because Cece at that point won't have a storyline because, Maxwell will already have found the love of his life. And so it's all about like forging a bond with Cece. And then I think season 5 is about the kids. Maybe even some of season 4, where like Maggie at that point will have been, I think, 18 or 18 or 19 by the end, by like season 5.
Do you want to know their ages, like confirm them or no?
Well, I know she's 14 in season 1. So like she'd be, if we're going by like a year has passed each season. Gotcha. So then we're like, so then 15, 16, 17. And then by season 5, 18, she will have graduated. And that's like about her going to college, figuring out herself. And then maybe season 6 is, we'll figure out when we get there. But and then Fran gets into drug dealing, and
I thought you were gonna say, I don't know why. I thought you were gonna be like, if Fran gets into butt stuff.
No, Maxwell gets into butt stuff.
Yeah, he gets pegged with one of her stilettos and likes it.
Exactly. No, but I think like for the kids specifically going into season 2, I think the story arc that we're gonna get is Maggie becoming more and more like Fran, and to the point where it is detrimental. And Fran has to sit down and have this conversation with Maggie, being like, you need to be your own person. Like you can learn from me and like use the skills that I've taught you, but you can't be this like bitch, basically. Like I think she's going to become kind of a bitch. And I think season 2 out of the 3 kids will focus on Maggie more than anything, because season 1 focused mostly on Gracie. And I think that we had like a good tie up to Gracie's storyline. So now they're like, let's move on to the next kid. And I think it's going to be Maggie.
Excellent. Any thoughts on Cece, Sylvia?
Yeah.
Anybody like that?
I think because this is a sitcom, we're not going to get a lot of focus on those characters. I think they're going to fill those specific roles. I would like it if Cece tries to make Maxwell jealous and tries to go after her own guy. I think that'd be a fun little story arc for her, where she like maybe starts dating this guy who's like kind of not all there, but she's I mean, maybe he's like fucking ridiculously hot, but he's just dumb as fuck. And like Cece can't stand this guy, but purposely like throws herself in front of him whenever Maxwell's around to try and make Maxwell jealous, and Maxwell's just not jealous. I think for Sylvia, because we didn't get a lot of Yetta this season, I think we're going to get a lot of Sylvia Yetta dynamic and more focus on Fran's family, because that was so successful in season 1, where they're like, pull out the gag of the episode, like, who's the random Fran relative?
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of that, especially with Yetta being more of an emphasis in season 2.
And I will say, it's not so much a spoiler because we've talked about this before, but Yetta does come back more as a recurring character starting in season 2. So, very cool.
I think that's my theories for season 2 of The Nanny.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited for you to watch. I think that you'll enjoy. So Lost. This is the part where it's like, I'm just gonna throw shit at the wall because I have no idea.
How about this? I'll bring up a specific mystery.
Okay.
Or something. Well, actually, no. First, a character arc.
What I thought I would do is like where each of the big mysteries left off.
Let's do that.
Okay. So let's start with the hatch. Okay.
Yes. What is the hatch, and what do you think is going to happen?
First, there's not enough rungs to go down all the way.
Yep.
And either they're going to figure that out in a bad way, and somebody takes a mighty tumble down, maybe dies, or they're going to now have to spend about half a season figuring out how to get down there. But by the time they figure out how to get down there, something or somebody comes up, and that makes them not want to go down there. We did get that warning from Walt when Locke touched him, that he said, don't open whatever you're trying to open, which tells me that there's not something good down there, whether it's for everybody or for Walt in particular. So the fact that Walt, I think this ties into my theory with Walt being what the others are looking for. They are clearly looking for some kind of child that I think is some kind of prophecy that they're going off of. When Rousseau's boat comes aboard, they see the opportunity of maybe this is the child we were looking for. Yep. And so they find Rousseau, they take this baby Alex, and they either figure out this is not what they wanted, or it's like a Game of Thrones White Walker situation where they take these babies and like make them another White Walker, and they're like, here you go, I'm gonna make your eyes blue now, baby. But they do that to the boys and not the girls. So that's in the White Walkers. That's because they represent the patriarchy. I just made that up.
I was like, damn, I was convinced.
Yeah, honestly, I thought about teaching a class on like social identities and religious identities through Game of Thrones, and like as like a first year program. Don't you think that'd be kind of cool? Like your first class, we're going to be reading all 6 of the Game of Thrones books, but then we're also going to be doing these supplementary readings with social justice issues, and
that's a lot of reading, girl.
They got to learn how to read in their first semester at my school.
True.
Anyway, so, and by the way, I could teach that if I wanted, because I am what? a master's of education person now.
Hey.
Anyway. So I think that they're going to be tied together. I think that Walt represents more of this prophecy. I think they were trying to figure out while the baby was still inside Claire, if this is the baby they wanted. And I think the reason why she escapes is literally because they let her go and they were like, that's not the baby we wanted. And I think that Russo's point of like kidnapping the baby and like literally bringing it to them, the fact that they're not even there, like there's no one even there, tells me that this baby is no longer a priority for them and that they go for Walt. And that Walt, we know, has some kind of weird aura, potential gift, magical kind of thing. And I think that this is going to be exactly what they're looking for. Is they're trying to figure out, this was the child that was promised or whatever, but like not in a good way. But I think that goes back to the hatch, because I think this is going to be like, maybe they were looking for a way to open the hatch and they felt like the only way to open it is to use this kid who can make things happen. So we're going to open the hatch. Like maybe this was a race to open the hatch. I don't know.
Quick caveat to your theory, and I'm curious how it comes into play. Okay. Ethan did come back to try and get Claire after she escaped and ended up getting himself killed. So I'm curious, like, how does that play into your theory for season 2? Because you said like they might not have wanted Claire, but like Ethan did threaten them and say like, I'm coming back for her, and then end up got himself killed.
It is interesting. Like, how does she break away from all of them? I think it literally it was more of a scare tactic to keep them all on their toes, more so than like, if they really wanted her, first of all, if they really wanted the child, she was far along. They could have like literally just done like a bare bones kind of, and like, we're going to cut you open and literally take this child out of you and discard you because we don't care about you. Like they literally could have done that. Totally. Also, if they were after him, why is it just Ethan who's after them and not like all the others? Unless Ethan's like a rogue agent, in which case like you're fucking stupid.
He's like, I've got like a bunch of people in the woods. They're ready to like shoot at any point.
They're going to go for it.
And he's by himself.
But I think that this is really more to play fear-mongering games, because I think the others can clearly see that like it doesn't take much for this group. I feel like they've been watching them this whole time. And so they know that there are people who are vying for this leadership role, that there's issues here, that they're split between the caves and the beach. And I think that all of that is a way for them to continue to divide them even further. I mean, that's why you have this impassioned speech from Locke, who's like, we know that there were other people on this island who were like willing to kill us, and we're still like tearing at each other's throats. And I think that that's like what their real plan is. And so if they really wanted anything with Claire, they would have done something with her.
So I guess my next question is, what do you see season 2 being for the others? Do you think we're going to see them more? Do you think we're not going to see them a lot? Now that they have Walt, what do you think is going to happen? I
think we start off seeing them like in the first episode, maybe 2, and then we don't see them for a long time until like towards the end of the season. I think it's more of like we gave you a glimpse and goodbye. Like, I think it's going to be one of those situations. And I don't think we actually see Walt for the majority of this, but I could see them now I'm going to bring this to the Hunger Games. All my like references are like other Hunger Games. It's always Hunger Games and Game of Thrones and Dr. Mike. Those are like three things.
There it is. Chat. Now there's Dr. Mike. Chat. What am I saying? Like I'm streaming.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I think that this is going to be like, did you watch The Hunger Games, the whole series? Yeah. Did you read the books?
I watched the first 2 movies. I was so bored. I decided not to watch the third.
Oh, that is just heartbreaking. But anyway, the second movie, there's a moment where Katniss and Finnick are in the woods, and they hear jabberjays, which are mutts that were created that echo sounds of things they've heard, which are like their loved ones being tortured and calling out for them. And they're trapped in this area and they can hear that. I have a theory that there's going to be something along similar lines, that they're able to like torture people like Locke with Walt's voice, or that we're going to be able to incorporate Locke. It's going to have more visions, and it's going to be of Walt.
Okay.
And I don't know what's going to happen with Michael, Sawyer, and Jin. My theory is that because they're farther away, they're the ones that see maybe the tail end of the plane people, if they're on like another side of the island, or maybe there's like an island that's right next door to them that they couldn't see, and they're like on that island, and they're like connected kind of islands. I don't know. Like there's like a little strait, like STRIET, whatever it is, strait. Because I thought it was like, we talked about this last episode. I forgot that Michelle Rodriguez is in this episode, or like was in the show. And I know that she's like not like a one-time person.
And she's a famous actress as well.
Yeah,
so like it would be weird to
be weird to have her on there and like not play up that role. But I do think that like the way that they brought her on, besides her like power status, is purely as like, the way they did that was to invite you to be like, who is this person? Did Jack ever follow up with them? And how come we're not seeing anything else here? It's because they're setting up something there. So I think they're the three that find her and maybe other people. I don't know. Okay. Rather than the others. And like, it's their job to find the others while the other people are trying to figure out what's in the hatch. I think those are like the two main storylines happening.
Cool. Yeah. I guess my next question is, what do you think season 2 looks like for the monster?
So we kind of found out that the monster is like a security system, which makes sense with like the alarm sounds it kind of makes.
I will say that is a theory.
That's a theory, yes. We didn't find it out, but I like that theory because it makes sense. Like I think that like anytime people have been encroaching in some capacity, I think that's when the others are like, bitch, you better back the fuck off. And the only reason why I think they're able to go to the Black Rock and not have the monster called on them immediately is because the others are focusing going after Walt.
Got it.
I think that's the reason. I think the others are in cahoots with the monster.
Okay, so you think they're linked together?
I think they're linked together.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you said that you think the others are like manipulating these whispers in some way, or like
I don't think that they're. Okay. I kind of thought that the whispers might be like the others might be working with the whispers, that the whispers might be people who have passed on the island who are trying to like tell the secrets of the island. Nope. This is the other theory that I keep quoting for this season. If you guys remember, is Bird Box. I kind of think that like the others are like the people who like, quote unquote, can withstand this weird force being that like makes people want to kill themselves and die. Like they don't die. They don't go crazy and try to make they become like evangelical followers. Okay. I feel like the island, anybody who dies on the island becomes a part of the island in like its forces. And like, it's like the way it's whispering to them. And like, these are like devout, quote unquote, followers that are thinking that they're taking over what they want. And that's why I also think that Locke is the most susceptible with his fanatic behavior, maybe he's schizophrenic, like those kind of things, to become an other down the road. Okay. And so that's why, like, I will never forget Rousseau saying you have to watch the people that you're with very closely. Yeah. And I think that this is going to be a time where Saeed eventually in season 2 might be like, bitch, you are getting crazy. And I think that you are sick.
Okay. Yeah. You answered that. I was going to be like season 2, the sickness or whatever it could be. So I guess my last big question.
I can't wait. I'm just so excited for this.
My last big question. Can
we watch it right now? Yes, we can.
Yes. I know, right? I wish. Chunks of characters. I'm just going to name a character. Give me a quick fire theory of what you think is going to happen to them. Okay. Jack.
Dead. I'm just kidding. No. That's a joke. Okay. That's a joke. Like I said before, I think that, we kind of spent some time with his arc a little bit, but I think that he's going to lose out on this like leadership role a little bit more to Locke. But I think that eventually Saeed is going to be like, bitch, I need you both to calm the fuck down. I'm going to take the lead. But also I think that eventually, because I think Locke will be seen as being sick, that Jack will eventually like be the leader again. I think that he's going to, I feel like people are going to make him take several seats. if that makes sense.
Next character, Sawyer. Is he dead or is he not dead?
I don't see them killing Sawyer, Jin, or Michael. I see them being like stranded on, like they can see the island.
At the end of season 1, Sawyer did get shot. They are stuck in the middle of the ocean and he got shot. So
listen, salt water, good for that wound. Just kidding.
Michael.
I think that he's alive. I think that he's that contingency. The three of them, I don't see them killing off Sawyer.
But like storyline wise, Michael doesn't have his son anymore.
No, that's what I said this before, that I think that threesome finds the other people who survived that they didn't see, and that they're going after the others to get Walt.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
I think that's what that contingency is doing. But because the other people don't know what happened with Walt, they don't know, and they just think that they hid out from the others and that they're good, and that they're going to continue to work on the hatch and like other parts of the island. But like that threesome, as well as the other people they come across, they're going to try to find the others than Walt.
Okay, so next season 2 arc, Rousseau.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting, because I think that Claire obviously is like, not a big fan. And I think that's understandable. But I do think that like Sawyer and Charlie even, this is just going to pain me, because it's just going to be fucking men again telling a woman how she should and shouldn't feel about like another woman who literally just kidnapped her baby. But I think that they're going to be able to like basically get to a point where they're like, we're not going to kill her because we understand the desperation she has and how sick she is for being by herself for basically 16 years and that kind of thing. But I don't know what happens with her. I don't know if she like joins this group and they like make her be like, you need to socialize with people because you're fucking crazy, or if they're like, get the fuck out of here and never come to us again. I have a feeling that Saeed would never turn her away. I have a feeling it's more the former, where she becomes part of like this beach kind of community, but there's a lot of like, maybe she's like imprisoned by people, like that kind of thing, which I think would be interesting to see them try to hold out like a little imprisonment kind of thing, considering like the only pair of handcuffs, Jin still has half of it on his hand. So
True. Cool. Well, that's exciting. I
can't wait to know that everything I said was 100% right. And
it is so accurate. You are like literally psychic. We're very excited to cover season 2 of both these shows. Just a reminder, everyone, going forward, we are going to be splitting up our Nanny and our Lost episodes. We'll be filming them at the same time, but we will give you a beginning and an end to each of those podcasts. So we'll like sign out twice when we're filming. But that way you'll get an episode from us every Tuesday. I'm going to upload our Nanny episode, and every Thursday I'm going to upload our Lost episode. So you'll get 2 beautiful podcasts a week
for the price of one
hot.
For the price of one subscription to any place that you listen to podcasts that we're on.
Yeah,
because then you get it in your feed.
Yeah, and make sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us out tremendously. And and I am so excited that we were able to cover an entire season of a show here on Hot Mess Moments. It started off as a fun little stupid project of ours, and
I'm proud that we have still remained spoiler free.
Yes.
So once again, if you have things that you know have Lost spoilers in them, send them to Dylan. If you have things that you know have Nanny spoilers in them, send them to me. Or feel free, if you have general comments about the podcast, whether you want to put that in a review or if you just want to leave it on a video or tweet at us, as long as they don't have spoilers in it, go for it. But the spoilers, you can tweet me at AugustaWind11 for the Nanny, and you can tweet Dylan.
Yeah, at 8-Bit Dylan. I'm going to call out a few amazing comments from some viewers. Jackie let us know, thanks for another awesome show.
Thanks, Jackie.
That has me rethinking my initial impressions of the show. And I think she's referring to Lost, the Lost season 1 finale.
Nice.
Love that shirt. Have one just like it.
I don't know what shirt I was wearing, but thank you.
I can't either. We also have a comment from Angela who says, I really want to know Dylan's favorite read from season 1 of The Nanny. Dish out by any of the cast. I think my favorite reads came from Schlepped Away, and it was Cece making fun of the fact that everyone was just okay.
When she's at the window drawing help me on the window.
Yes, it just is so funny. She's like, how are you all surviving this? And she just wants to like leave. Cece is an icon.
A queen.
But thank you all so much for watching this recap of season 1 of both Lost and The Nanny. Like I said, there may or may not be an episode this upcoming week because I am hosting a Knockout City tournament that'll take Saturday and Sunday out of my schedule. I'll be super busy. And
it's for charity, right?
Not for charity. It's just for fun.
I thought it was for charity. I guess you're not a good human.
I know, right?
Kidding. That's a joke.
No, but for real, if I did a charity component of it, it'd be even more stressful than it already is. So I'm like, let's not add money into the equation. Let's just see if I can organize this myself. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you all potentially next week, if not the week after. And until then,
bye bye now.
I hate that.
I do too.